Please welcome to the stage, Director of the Game Developers Conference, Jamil Moladina.
Good morning. Many of you will have a lot in common with our next speaker, as he started out as a game developer himself. If you've played any of the Kirby, Earthbound, or Smash Brothers games, you've already met his inner self. Yet his vision of the future propelled him up the chain of command, landing him at the highest level of the video game industry. We are also particularly appreciative that he will be delivering his keynote in English and with a sore throat. Please join me in welcoming the top man at Nintendo Worldwide, President Satoru Iwata.
Thank you very much, Jamil. On my business card, I am a corporate president. In my mind, I am a game developer. But in my heart, I am a gamer. Today, I'd like to speak to you from my heart about our jobs and about our industry. I remember the first video game I ever played. It was Pong, and I loved it. By the time I was in high school, I was the first person in my class to buy an early Hewlett-Packard pocket calculator. I think I was one of the original early adapters. But where most people use their calculators for higher mathematics, I used mine to program video games. My first creation was a baseball game. I don't think anyone can say it has bad graphics because it has no graphics. Gameplay was represented only by numbers. But when I saw my friends playing that game and having fun, it made me feel proud. To me, this was a source of energy and passion. As that passion for games began to blossom, I think my life course was set. In 1978, I entered the Tokyo Institute of Technology. I would have loved to study video game programming, but no one was teaching it then. So I went to classes on engineering and early computer science. But after class, when my friends went back to their rooms to study, I took off on my motorcycle for one retail store in Tokyo. This was the first store to have the department entirely dedicated to personal computers. That was my hangout, and I was not alone. There were others there who also looked at those early computers and thought the same thing I did. How could we play games on them? We became friends, formed a club, and soon rented an apartment in the Akihabara district of Tokyo, where we began designing our own games. We worked until midnight or later every night, and that group of friends is what became the company known today as HAL. The name came from the computer in the movie 2001 Space Odyssey, HAL. We thought that name was very cool. Also, this is what I looked like back then. Thank you. Like all game creators, I was extremely cool too, don't you think? So, I don't really remember how, but I managed to keep up with my classwork and graduated from the institute. But when it came time to take a job, I had the distinction of joining the smallest company of any graduate in my class. I left to become only the 5th full-time employee of HAL. And when I told my father this, you can imagine, it was not the happiest moment in the history of my family. People sometimes ask me what I did when I was hired at HAL. Well, the answer is that I was a programmer, and an engineer, and a designer, and I marketed our games. I also ordered a lot of takeout food, and I helped clean up. And it was all great fun. Perhaps the biggest moment in the history of HAL came when we heard the rumor that Nintendo has developing a machine capable of incredible new graphics, the Famicom, or NES as it was called here in the States. We knew that this machine was for us. So we used every contact we could to get a meeting with Nintendo, sure that one of our ideas would become an instant hit. Yes, Nintendo did hire us, but not to amaze the world with one of our projects. Instead, they told us to fix one of their projects, a game that had seriously fallen behind schedule. Instead of creating a game, we repaired a game. And it eventually was released as NES Pinball. That experience taught us that even artists must know the business side of game development. After all, if a game never comes to market, there is very little chance of it making any money. Working in those days was also instructive in another way. Because the graphics were so primitive by today's standards, we asked ourselves how we could spur the players' imaginations as a substitute for what we couldn't display on the screen. Think about this. Someday our games won't look any better. What will we do then? Well, our work was satisfactory enough that we formed a close association with Nintendo. And as HAL invented a couple of early franchises, we also learned other lessons. Our first Kirby game taught us the value of teamwork. Since not everyone can be a Miyamoto, we discovered that idea can come from several team members building on each other to make something superior to what one person could invent. Then we worked with the famous Japanese creator, Shigesato Itoi, who was already an avid gamer himself, to develop his first idea for a game. That series, called Mother in Japan, and released here in America as Earthbound, proved to us that ideas take on a special appeal when they become interactive. Many years and many projects later, I went to work for Nintendo full-time, and then one day, about 3 years ago, Mr. Yamauchi appointed me to succeed him as company president. Of course, this was a great honor, but it was also a great challenge. I knew this would require committing much more time and assuming much more responsibility. But fortunately, game developers are familiar with such things. So, I'd like to move on this morning and answer two questions that I'm often asked now that I've had 2 decades of experience in the video game world. Excuse me. First, over the last 20 years as a developer, what things have changed? And second, what things have stayed the same? One thing that has not changed and will not change is our nature as a form of entertainment. Like any other entertainment medium, we must create an emotional response in order to succeed. Laughter, fear, joy, anger, affection, surprise, and most of all, pride of accomplishment. In the end, triggering these feelings from our players is a true judgment of our work. This is the bottom line measurement of success. Secondly, we must always weigh challenge and reward. How much work and frustration a player is willing to withstand depends on the personality and skill of the player. Core gamers have a huge appetite for challenge. Casual gamers want less difficulty. At Nintendo, we believe it is our responsibility to make games for all skill levels. And most definitely, that includes people who are not playing our games now. The third thing that has not changed is the importance of the idea. Of course, it is variable to devise an extension or offshoot of a current idea, but it is invariable to come up with a brand new idea of what a game can be. I'm sure there are few of you out there in the audience today with such creativity, and our industry needs you. Fourth, this truth never changes. Software sells hardware. People buy game systems to play the game they love. I agree with Steve Jobs, the head of Apple, when he said, software is the user experience. Software is a driving technology, not just of computers, but of all consumer electronics. Finally, what has not changed is the value of intellectual property. If it is true that software sells hardware, it is more true than ever that franchises sell software. While our industry has made hit games with names like Spider-Man and James Bond and NFL football, I think we should be proud that our best games are those whose hero and worlds we invented ourselves. Thank you. So then, on the other side of the coin, what do I think of when I consider what has changed? One word immediately comes to mind: bigger. Especially here in the Western Hemisphere, the business is bigger. The North American and European retail markets alone are now worth approximately $17 billion. In the US, game sales were up another 8% last year. There are games in your living room, your office, on your PDA, your cell phone, and of course, best of all, on your Nintendo DS. Many in the media are shocked to learn that young men now spend more time playing games than watching TV. I think those of us in this room could have told them that a long time ago. Of course, the games themselves have become much bigger in several ways. They are bigger in a technical sense, occupying more digital space. That, in turn, requires bigger teams, bigger budgets, and bigger challenges in meeting deadlines. This also means that big game companies are getting bigger by consuming smaller ones. We know that in the next generation, budgets for AAA console games will regularly move into 8 digits, and that's before any marketing money is spent. Only the biggest companies can afford such cost. Not surprisingly, the success of our industry and the profit margin for hit games has again drawn big interest from larger entertainment companies. But we may not be compatible. Their books, movies, and TV shows are exactly the same for every user. But our games let players help write their own screenplays and their own endings. Now, I don't think any of this is news. Bigger budget, bigger staffs, bigger companies. It's there for all of us to see. Big is obvious. On the other hand, what's more prominent in my thinking these days is how our industry is getting smaller. We are smaller in the amount of risk we are willing to accept. We are also smaller in how we define video games. The list of genres seems fixed: shooters, sports, platform, puzzles, and so on. When is the last time we invented a new genre? But, as importantly, even within these genres, we have reduced the environments we use. The racing tracks, the soundtracks, the bosses, the heroes are starting to looking more and more alike. Consider Tiger Woods Golf and Mario Golf, each a successful franchise, but using 2 different looks for the same genre. Such variety is becoming harder and harder to find. We are even getting smaller in how we define progress. Making games look more photorealistic is not the only means of improving the game experience. I know, on this point, I risk being misunderstood. So remember, I am a man who once programmed a baseball game with no baseball players. If anyone appreciates graphics, it's me. But my point is that this is just one path to improve games. We need to find other improvement has more than one definition. And finally, I am most concerned with what we think as a gamer. As we spend more time and money chasing exactly the same players, who are leaving behind? Are we creating games just for each other? Do you have friends and family members who do not play video games? Well, why don't they? And I would ask this. How often have you challenged yourself to create a game that you might not play? I think these questions form an important challenge for all of us. Excuse me. So, I have preached more than enough about the state of our industry. You may be wondering, how does Nintendo plan to respond? Let me answer a couple of things in a straightforward way. First, has Nintendo turned its back on the hardcore gamer? I don't believe so. If we were not interested in core gamers, we would not have packed in Metroid Prime Hunters for each of you when you went out and bought your Nintendo DS. This is not just excellent game entertainment, but also a signal that we want the DS to be for core gamers too. We would not have partnered with M-Space in order to take a new look at shooters in the game Geist, which is coming exclusively to Nintendo GameCube. It will move your emotions and move your definition of this genre. And if we are not interested in core gamers, GameCube would not be the home to the first big hit of 2005 here in America, Capcom's Resident Evil 4. It's a sign that not only do we care about core gamers, but core gamers care about Nintendo. And most of all, we would not be finishing the most anticipated game in your industry this year, a brand new Legend of Zelda. I would love to tell you all about it, but actions speak louder than words. We have chosen you to see the first new footage of Zelda since E3 10 months ago, so take a look. A new look is only one part of the Zelda story. Much more of the mystery will be revealed at E3. This latest Zelda adventure will appeal to core gamers and all gamers, just like every previous version. The reason, I believe, is that it meets the standards we set for all software we develop. We call these standards the 4 I's. First, is it truly innovative? Something different from what has come before? Second, is it intuitive? Does control of the game and the direction of gameplay seem natural? Third, is it inviting? Do you want to spend time in this world? And finally, how does it measure up in terms of interface? Can the player connect in new ways? Certainly, few games can score perfectly in each of these areas. But at Nintendo, this is how we measure ourselves. And while we apply these standards to our software projects, there is also an obvious hardware example, Nintendo DS. It was designed to demonstrate both innovation and new forms of interface to be both intuitive and inviting. So far, people seem to have decided that it does all of that. As of today, we have shipped 4 million DS systems to Japan and North America in just 16 weeks since launch. And those numbers do not include Europe, where Nintendo DS begins selling tomorrow. I know that you are all familiar with the novel aspect of DS gameplay, incorporating to the 2 screens, the touch screen, and the microphone. What you may not have much knowledge of yet is wireless gameplay. We are now finishing up a game, Mario Kart, that will allow 8 players to compete simultaneously. Yes, gamers already know that Mario Kart is fun. But does the DS version make it even more fun? Well, let's find out. Let me ask you this. Is there anyone out there who is celebrating a birthday today? If so, please stand up. Okay. Please come up here to the stage.
We have anybody celebrating a birthday today?
And in fact, if your birthday,
come see this gentleman in the blue shirt here.
In fact, if your birthday is any day this week, please stand up.
We've got room for just a few more. Any day this week.
6 of you to come up here and join me. Come on, don't be shy. Bill Trinham from Nintendo of America is also going to join us. And we will form a test group for wireless Mario Kart on Nintendo DS.
Let's go ahead and spread out a little bit on stage so that if you guys aren't too happy with the results of the race, you don't get in too big of a fight here, okay?
On the screen above us, you see Bill's card. I hope trading mine, right, Bill?
Now, if you've ever played a Mario Kart game, then you've got a pretty good idea of what you're going to be doing here. If you haven't, for some strange and inexplicable reason, I'll give you the control schemes. You'll use the A button for your accelerator. You'll steer with the plus control pad. If for whatever reason you decide you need to step on the brakes, which I don't know of anyone who ever does that in Mario Kart, but that's the B button. When you go into a curve, you can use the R button to hop into your power slide. And once you pick up an item, you can use the L button to use the item.
Okay, let's start.
And remember, Mr. Iwata is not your standard corporate suit here. The guy, he used to program games. He certainly knows how to play them. So don't pull any punches. He's not fun to lose to. Now, see, I'm off to a good start here already, except for the fact that I just missed my item. And that I can't seem to get off the grass. Mr. Iwata, which character are you?
I'm Mario.
You're Mario?
I'm
Okay,
not good player.
everybody, get Mario.
No!
I have been trying to beat him all week, and I've had no success. Use the A button. This button, it's to go fast. Steer with the plus control pad.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I think.
Sure. Now you can see on my screen I've got a close-up map of my character, so I can see what's going on in my immediate vicinity. When I'm paying attention to that, I can see if there's a red shell coming my way. Or I can press the X button to get a full screen view to see just how far behind I am from Mr. Iwata. Take that, Peach. Now, if you're really good at the power slide, you can power your way through the turns here, kind of like I'm doing. And now we've got just over one lap to go. I think I'm ready to make my move. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm very bad.
I'm finally going to beat Mr.
Final
Iwata.
lap.
This is great. Ouch! Oh, yeah, who was that? Oh, and all I get's a banana. Jeez. Okay. Whoa. Somehow I don't think I'm going to pull this out. Well, second place isn't too bad.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much.
Now, unfortunately, we're not going to be giving these to you today, so if you can go ahead and leave your DSs and your Game Boy Advance or your Mario Kart games with our friend in the blue shirt here, that would be great.
Yeah, these days, I spend so much of my time on meetings and interviews and traveling. I sometimes forget how much fun have playing games. I like that. Well, this demonstration of wireless Mario Kart brings us up to the present moment. This is a product that we will bring to the market later this year. But I would like to spend the rest of my time today on what is perhaps the next logical question. Where does Nintendo go from here? Let me try to explain it first with an image. In the universe of interactive entertainment, there is a planet we call video games. It is the one we know best, but it is only one. Also, in our universe are other planets which entertain, but in different ways from current games. It is this part of the universe we are anxious to explore. So, this idea creates the dual passion of Nintendo. On one hand, we work every day to make what we describe as video games better. We want to give players what they want. But at the same time, we are intent on finding out what else we can use to entertain. Our second goal is to show players something new, something they may not even know they want. You already are familiar with a good example of this philosophy. It's Pokemon. At its core, Pokemon is a wonderful role-playing game, but it is also much more. Players collect and trade Pokemon maybe the same way you once collected and traded bottle caps or baseball cards. Pokemon expanded RPGs to places they hadn't gone before. Another example was our decision to put PictoChat into the DS. It's not a game, not a competition, but a way for us to better understand how communicating wirelessly might also entertain. And PictoChat as a wireless function also represents just the latest step in something much larger for Nintendo. Excuse me. I want to announce today that following the groundbreaking work we have always done in connecting players, we will aggressively pursue Wi-Fi connections, beginning with Nintendo DS. The original Game Boy connected 2 players with a cable, then 4 players on Game Boy Advance. We put 4 control ports on your consoles, and then made our controllers wireless. With Pokemon, Fire Red and Leaf Green, we packaged wireless adapters with the games. That introduced unfamiliar players over fairly large distances. This is all part of a unifying philosophy that continues with Nintendo DS. Every aspect of Nintendo DS is designed to be friendly to all audiences. Therefore, Wi-Fi should be easy for everyone too. Our goal is to make this process simple and seamless. Users shouldn't give a thought. Wi-Fi connections will feel like a local area network connections because they will use a common API. We will let DS owners enjoy Wi-Fi without the difficulty of entering an SSID or WebKey. And maybe most importantly, we will remove the most important consumer barrier because Nintendo's Wi-Fi connection will be free. As I said, thank you. As I said, simple and seamless. So you may want to know, is this infrastructure ready to go? Almost. What about development? Where are the dev kits? By E3, you won't be asking that question. Well then, what about the entertainment? I can say today that you will be playing Wi-Fi games on DS this year. What we are developing internally and externally with a number of people is very exciting to me. At least one of these projects, I believe, will be groundbreaking. And we look forward to your Wi-Fi games too. Let me give you one example of what we are working on. Internally, we are developing Animal Crossing Wi-Fi. We chose this property for a couple of reasons. First, it is one of those non-game games I mentioned, a form of entertainment that really doesn't have a winner or even a real conclusion. And because of its unrestrained pace of action, it avoids wireless latency issues. Before, you could take Animal Crossing to a different village. Now, with Wi-Fi, you can take it around the world. So, we feel that our form of free and easy wireless play helps move our industry in a new direction. But we are making similar moves in software as well. I want again to bring Built-in out to demonstrate 2 other things that come from a different part of the interactive entertainment universe. But even before we show them, I can tell you, they may seem unusual because they are something different. This first one is the current passion of Mr. Miyamoto and Bill himself.
I'm sure by this point many of you have probably heard the name Nintendogs before. Some of you have probably seen screenshots of it, and maybe even a few of you have seen the video we showed at E3 last year, or have possibly even played it here on the show floor at the GDC. What you haven't seen is the full version, and what I'm going to try to show to you today is some of the unique microphone capabilities that we've implemented in this game that I think is going to get you very excited if my dog here, Chopper, is a good boy. Now obviously I've got one dog here in my house, and I can pet him with the touch screen, and I can play with him, and he is a very cute puppy. He is unfortunately very excited right now, but what we can do is I can go and I can grab some items. I can play with him in the house. I've got a little tennis ball here that I can throw around for him. He'll chase it, he'll play with it, and maybe I can even get him to bring it back to me. Which is all well and good, but so far this doesn't really show off anything. So let's see if I can get him to really respond to me. Chopper. Now the best thing about the use of the microphone in Nintendogs is that this is not a standard set of terminology that you have to respond to, that you have to memorize and work with the dog on. You create your own terms. You train this dog with the words you want to train it with. So if you want to tell the dog to sit, to make the dog sit, it can be that. If you want to tell the dog to get down to make him sit, it can be that. Or if you just want to say boogeyman, it can be that. You teach the dog the terms you want. So let's see if I can get Chopper to respond to some of the terms that I've taught him. Chopper. Okay, okay. Chopper. Sit, boy. Sit, boy. Now, unfortunately, I have two dogs in real life, and they don't listen to a thing I say either. So, I'm just not a very good dog trainer, I think. And Chopper, I think, may be a little bit hungry. So let me see what is. I can come in here and check. He is a little bit hungry. So let me see if I can feed him some food and then get him to listen to me. There we go. Now the game is going to feature over a dozen of the most popular breeds of dogs in the United States, and each breed is going to have traits characteristic to that breed. So you'll have dogs that are very good at being trained with voice commands, you'll have dogs that will be very good at agility competitions, and you'll have dogs that will be very good at things like frisbee competitions, or flying discs, I should say. Chopper. Yeah. Sit, boy. Sit, boy. Uh-oh. Now, in this case, some of the other features that the game does have is that you can wash your dog. You can give him a little bath. You can also take them for walks around town. We'll give him a little quick bath right here, which is a lot of fun. He doesn't like me yanking his tail. And then you just grab the shower handle and you wash him off. Okay, come on, let's get you clean here, buddy. There we go. And there we go. There we go. Now he's nice and sparkly clean.
Very good.
You can also enjoy taking your dog for a walk around town where, like all dogs, he will mark his territory and leave little packages behind for people, which would be best if you could pick those up along the way. Chopper. Good dog. Chopper. Lie down. Lie down. Good dog. Now what do I do here is click there. Unfortunately, I've been teaching Chopper a little too many commands this morning, and he doesn't want to learn any more. But what you would do is you would click right there, tell your command into the microphone, and then the game would repeat your command and the dog would understand it. So again, you could teach him to play dead, jump, or in the case of Chopper, you might want to teach him to stick balls. And with that, we're going to move on to the next game.
And now Mr. Miyamoto is very busy to finishing up this game in Japan. As you see, this product will expand our audience to players who currently are not satisfied with what we've been offering them. I'm also going to ask Bill to show you one other software project we are calling Electroplankton. That sounds different. Electroplankton. And it looks different too. The idea here is that creativity should not just belong to the developer, but to the player as well.
Electroplankton is a game that really can only be described as an interactive musical composition experience, which sounds kind of long, but I don't really know what else to call it. What it is a software program. Like Mr. Iwata says, it's not really a game, it's an experience. And it's one that allows someone like me, who has absolutely no musical capabilities whatsoever, to do something that a lot of you probably do, and that's create music. And what you see me doing here is I'm just touching the screen, and by doing so I'm placing electroplanktons on the screen, and depending on where they're located, they're making different noises. And so based on this, I can compose a song. If I happen to have placed one in a spot I don't like, I can simply grab it, slide it somewhere else, and change the note that it makes. Gradually, in this mode, as the electroplanktons get larger, you'll notice that the sounds they're making become slightly more symphonic. And so as you're creating music, the music that you're creating is interactive and changing. It's really a fascinating experience, but there's actually a lot more modes than just this one. So I'm going to show you one, and I'm actually going to show you two more, but this next one also takes advantage of the microphone, although it looks kind of strange. So we have a nice drum beat going on here, and you've got 4 fish swimming across the screen, which probably looks kind of strange and doesn't make a lot of sense, which is what we first thought when we got the game in the office until we started experimenting with it. Let me show you what it does. I'm just going to tap one of these fish. Electroplankton. 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 Yeah. Electroplankton. Yeah. Electroplankton. Yeah. Nintendo. Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? Nintendo. Who's your daddy? Nintendo. Now, I know I'm not a great rapper, but I'm no worse than Vanilla Ice, so. And then the next mode that I'm going to show you, I think a lot of you are getting a lot of fun out of. And this is a little remix of the Super Mario theme song that I can fiddle around with and do whatever I want. And we've got not just the Mario theme song, but many others in here that you can change just by pressing the select button. But I'm going to have to give it a go and see how I do.
this game is different. This game is different. It's designed to produce harmony, not adrenaline. So far, we are seeing different kinds of reactions to Electroplankton. Some test players are confused. They keep looking for their score or their next enemy. But others are hypnotized. There are people who simply refuse to turn the game off. No matter what your own reaction, I think you can agree that this is definitely not from the world we currently call video games. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill. So, this is Nintendo's plan. Make our existing game world much better. Better Zeldas, better Marios, better partnerships creating games like Resident Evil 4, but also exploring other worlds in interactive entertainment. For us, this is a passion. This is a mission of adventure. And most importantly, we want you, the creative heart for our entire industry, to take that journey with us. You may remember from E3 last year that we explained that DS had two meanings: dual screen and developer's system. And Nintendo Revolution is a developer's system too. With IBM, we are creating Revolution's core processor, which we have codenamed Broadway, because Broadway is the capital of live entertainment. With ATI, we are developing the graphic chipset codenamed Hollywood, because Hollywood is the capital of movie entertainment. With Revolution, we are determined to create the new capital of interactive entertainment. Now, a couple of specifics. First, contrary to much speculation, I can announce today that Revolution will be backward compatible. The best of the Nintendo GameCube library will still be enjoyed by players years from now. Second, as I said earlier, we intended to incorporate wireless technology in all we do. Therefore, Nintendo Revolution will be Wi-Fi enabled, built into every system. Thank you. And third, even though the game experience enjoyed by players will be far different on Revolution, developing for it will be familiar. It will not require a steep new learning curve. In this way, just like Nintendo DS, it's a place where the best idea, not the biggest budget, will win. And make no mistake, we expect third-party publishers will be fully supportive of what we are doing. From this point forward, in support of all of our product lines, Nintendo will be expanding our development reach. Some of these new games will come from larger internal teams. Some from the kinds of game partnerships we've formed with third parties over recent years. Maybe someday we'll work on a game together. I'd like that. If you don't mind, I will finish today with memories from one more franchise in my development career, Super Smash Bros. At the time it was being developed for Nintendo GameCube, I was already working full-time for Nintendo. But my heart told me I was still a developer. So I assigned myself to HAL to rejoin the team, finishing the game. Once again, I was living on the Japanese developers' diet of chips, pizza, and rice balls, and walking through the night from their offices. It was possible to see Mount Fuji, which many say is most impressive if you are willing to wake up and see it at dawn. But during this period, just as years before with our Kirby games, we at HAL would see the sun shining on the mountain before we ever went to bed. Many say the sight of the first light on Mount Fuji inspires them. But for me, I hope I never see it again. I also remember the first version of Smash Bros. Developed for Nintendo 64. The concept for the game, as you know, was to take the classic friendly Nintendo franchise characters and have them, as you say here in America, beat the heck out of each other. The idea was not brand new. There certainly have been a lot of fighting games. And the characters looked pretty much the same way they always had. So, when we brought the idea to Nintendo, the concept did not sound hip or cool or revolutionary. And because of all this, there were people both inside and outside Nintendo who did not strongly favor our idea. And this was the environment that our team worked under. That attitude remained until the moment of truth, the moment when testers began picking up the controllers and actually playing the game. This is what happened. People smiled, then laughed, then began shouting to each other. That was the moment when everything for Smash Bros. Changed. And I must tell you, this was also one of the proudest moments in my development career. Yes, the Smash Bros. Series has become a great worldwide success because it sold over 10 million copies worldwide. Thank you very much. But the memory of that first moment when the testers began to play stays with me always. That is that moment that I call success. We at HAL found a way to bring our idea to life. Our team believed deeply in the concept, and we did not waver in our approach. So, in this important sense, we at HAL, we are just like every one of you. Even if we come from different sides of the world, speak different languages, even if we eat too many chips or rice balls, even if we have different tastes in games, every one of us here today is identical in the most important way. Each one of us has the heart of the gamer. Thank you very much for your attention.